Welcome to Lot 76 Cars at the Jaguar Drivers Club Centenary Day at Brooklands. I think we're going to see some great Jaguars here today. I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for joining. Let's take a look around the back. Let's take a look in that cockpit. Well, we've got quite a few dials there. We can measure the amperes, the petrol, the oil, the speed of course, and the RPM. Seems to be lacking infotainment there, but never mind. What an absolutely superb car, all joking aside. It's a lovely car, and actually if you look at the size of that cabin, it's relatively tight in there, isn't it? Great handbrake. I think that's maybe a fly-off handbrake, I'm not sure. Now this is a 1939 SS 1.5 saloon, which is apparently one of only actually 18, and was discovered by the current owner during the lockdown, who's tracked down the history of it. And just look at some of the angles on that car, particularly on the running board. And here we've got another SS saloon. I think pre-war car. Now here's a toolkit to admire. And this saloon looks like it's got a little bit more power. We're looking at that, looks like it's 3.5 litre. Look at those lights. Wow, they look like searchlights from World War II. Absolutely fantastic, isn't it? We're going to try and take a look inside this one because it looks absolutely lovely. Again, a very special Jaguar interior, probably laying the basis for the Jaguars that we know so well these days. Cream leather and no shortage of wood, and it's a pity you can't smell on video because it really smells like a Jaguar. And to be fair, it's actually quite a long car. So we're going to take a walk a bit further down here and look at the rest of these SS convertibles, of which there are a few. I wasn't actually aware they'd actually built so many, but they're absolutely fabulous looking cars. And that grey one's bang on trend, isn't it? In fact, there are so many SS Jaguars here, probably you've covered pretty much the full colour chart at the time. Now this one, the owners helpfully put some details near the car. It's a 1933 SS1 Coupe, registration APF 145. It was actually manufactured on the 13th of Feb 1933 by the Swallow Coach Building Company, Swallow Road, Coventry, designed by, yes, William Lyons and William Walmsley. Absolutely lovely car, this one, isn't it? It's won a number of trophies, and I'm not surprised. Let's take a closer look as well. I'm fascinated by those lights. I'm not sure how much light output you're getting from them, but they certainly look spectacular, don't they? And this black paintwork is truly, truly remarkable, isn't it? So this was probably decadence back in the 1930s. Having a car like this, I'm sure you were certainly high up the pecking order, let's put it that way. Now when the business was established in the 1920s, initially the Swallow Sidecar Company, it was called, based their business on actually rebodying Austin 7s, and here's a prime example. So it was a predecessor to the Jaguar car, as it mentions here in the window, but obviously with a special body to give that customer something a bit different to the normal Austin 7. Let's take a closer look at this one. Well, it's tiny, isn't it? But you can certainly see the difference between this and a normal Austin 7, and how this bespoke coach builder, as it was, prior to building their own cars, had enhanced another manufacturer's vehicles, a mainstream manufacturer. And you'd certainly not mistake that rounded body at the back for anything else, would you? So again, from these early days, a number of Austin 7 swallow-bodied cars, and there's quite a few here. I don't pretend to be an expert on these, so feel free to chip into the comments if you know more about them, which is highly likely. Now you can see here how back in 1948, how stunned people must have been to see the original XK120. The green car is actually an XK140 that debuted sometime into the 50s. In fact, this one's a fully restored 1955 version. It's unmistakably Jaguar. And unmistakably made in Coventry. To appreciate this car, you've really got to consider all the angles, because actually it's arguably as pretty from the back as it is from the front. What's incredible are the chrome details and the enamel, or certainly the badging. I'm not sure if it's enameled, but some of that badging, I'm going to take a closer look, looks just absolutely exquisite. And in this instance, it's actually proclaiming the win between 51 and 53 of Le Mans. And here's a naked chassis undergoing a full restoration, so you can really see what these vehicles look like underneath. This 66 Mark 10, I believe, was one of the widest cars on sale at the time. And you can imagine, back in 1966, compared to the size of some of the other vehicles on the road, it was absolutely a giant. It has the legendary 4.2 engine, and it's finished in this very dark green, and I believe, looking at this, it's a vehicle that's coming up for auction. Another auction car is this Jaguar Mark 5 drop head from 1951. An interesting colour scheme, this one, isn't it? This sort of caramel over cream. Not everybody's cup of tea, but certainly distinctive, isn't it? Back in 2015, Jaguar developed a Project 7, and this is one of them, based on the F-Type platform, but with increases in power and a distinctive roof, but also a very, very distinctive interior. Although recognisably F-Type. Making the trip from Germany in this case is an XK140, and certainly getting into the swing of things. Yes, it's a left-hand drive German car, and I've just read that this is a replica of a record-breaking car that hit over 141 miles an hour in Belgium. and a very nice D-type replica. It's a good one. And this is an immediately post-war 1948 1.5 litre SS saloon. Although possibly not called SS by then, I'll have to check that. I won't attempt to talk you all through these, but just to admire the beauty of these XKs. A 150, the closest one to me here. Then we've got a 140. Let's see if we can get the full set here. Another 140 in that lovely, lovely burgundy colour. That one stands out to my eyes anyway, a bit more than the bright red cars. And here's a lovely Mark II 3.4. That's a great colour scheme, isn't it? Beautiful from any angle, and essential equipment for bank robbers back in the 60s. Well, certainly the 3.8 was. We'll see if we can find one of those a bit later, shall we? And here's a lovely 1957 Mark 8, delightfully called Jenny the Duchess. I'm not sure if you can see it from here, but it's actually got quite a large sliding metal sunroof as well. So this Mark II is even more special than many of the others. Originally it was a 2.4 car, which has been enhanced over time. It was fitted with a 3.8 and the Coombs rear arches, and the owner did allow me to have a look inside. It's an absolutely lovely car. But what makes this more special, it was actually used on the ITV Endeavour TV series, the young Inspector Morse, and he actually drove this car. So that makes it super, super special, doesn't it? Lovely full-length sunroof. The owner tells me it's actually in daily use, pretty much in daily use. Nearly getting run over by an XK. There are worse ways to go, I guess, aren't there? And for sale here is this beautiful 89 XJS. It's the full convertible, not the cabriolet, and it's the V12, and it looks very nice. And here's a better shot of Harry Metcalf's restored XJC. I say restored, enhanced, modified, and with a bespoke paint colour. It's a lovely car, isn't it? And just look at this engine bay, this rebuilt V12 engine. And just 205/70 VR tyres on 15-inch rims, but those alloys look so right, don't they? And a lovely French blue late XKRS. And here's one of the Le Mans cars, driven by Jan Lammers, the late Johnny Dumfries and Andy Wallace, in the fantastic, but certainly not possible these days, silk cut livery. It's certainly a fantastic looking car, this XJR9, isn't it? And next door to it we have the Martin Brundle, Johnny Dumfries and Raoul Bossel car. And even the Ford platform based S-Type starting to look a bit more interesting these days, and I think eventually will get its own following. Now this very special E-Type is one of the first 7 prepared for racing by the factory, and in fact this version was actually driven by the famous Graham Hill. What a lovely car. And just coming into the show is this lovely V12. And the XJS had some late fame in the form of this European touring car, 1984 Tom Walkinshaw Win Percy car. It's absolutely an iconic vehicle, this particular one, and certainly its success wasn't necessarily expected. and it was relatively late in the model life cycle. So a lovely car, isn't it? Another famous Mark II is this Jack Sears, Sterling Moss, Mike Parks, Grant Williams and Ross Hyatt driven Mark II. And this one's even got a hell of a racing pedigree, driven by Bruce McLaren, John Surtees and Jack Sears, to name but 3 of them. What a fantastic car. There are some great racing Mark IIs here today. Don't they look good? Must have been fantastic to see these cars in period. Now this is a Series 3 body style XJ, but in actual fact, as you can well see, it's a Daimler. I guess it's from 82, 83, looking at the registration. It's got those lovely, I think, forged alloy wheels on it. And again, a brand that's disappeared. Daimler, we won't see the like of that again, I suspect. And a lovely supercharged early XK. It's difficult to know where to look here. I've got an X300 that's come all the way from Germany. In fact, it's an XGR, so it's a supercharged car. If I turn this way, I've got another X300. I've got an XK8 convertible. I've got a fantastic Mark II in this beautiful navy blue. So not really regarded in the way they should be, in my opinion, these S-Type Jaguars. This is a lovely 3.8 litre version. It has a far more sophisticated rear suspension setup to the Mark II, but obviously all the benefits of that fantastic 3.8 litre engine. Sadly, a lot of these seem to meet their end in episodes of the Sweeney as I watched as a child, but thankfully this one survived. Now here's a Mark I, but as you can see by the higher roofline, it's the Plus 2, or the version with the rear seats. Not as sought after, but I think certainly a lot more practical than the normal two-seater. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I suspect this is a Series 1.5 because it loses the enclosed headlamps of the Series 1. You've got to love these fantastic delicate features. Look at those marker lights. And yes, it's another Mark II, a 3.8 litre, and this is lovely. In fact, this is probably one of the nicest ones I've seen so far. What a great colour. And of course, as you can see, it's a left-hand drive version, so it's probably made quite a trek to be here. So thanks for doing that. Now I should have said earlier that XJ, or experimental Jaguar, side a long line of vehicles. You can see here a later line of X300s, and hopefully we can see an early XJ at some stage. Oh, I do like this one, guys. This is an early, well, it's an L, so what would that be? 72, 73 XJ. You've got to love that colour, and it looks to be an absolutely superb order. And it's a V12. Wow. If you wanted grace, pace and space, that's probably the one for you. That's a standout car, isn't it? And doesn't it look right with those steel wheels on rather than alloys or wires or anything else like that? It just looks good. Another British Racing Green XK 150. Now this for me is probably peak E-Type. It looks like it's a 65, 66 car. So it's a Mark I with the enclosed headlamps, which for me is absolutely a must. So as stunning today as it was at its launch at the 1961 Geneva Motor Show, you can see why Enzo Ferrari said it was one of the most beautiful cars ever made. It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? Especially in that colour. And completing the set is this lovely Roadster. We'll take a closer look at the engine. It looks like this 3.8 litre engine has had as much polishing There's the bodywork, doesn't it? Now I believe the 420 was a vehicle that came in towards the days of the BMC ownership. So previously this looks to be related to the S-Type. You know, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. I'm just going basically on memory here. So let's take a walk down here. We've got a number of Mark IIs. Hopefully do these cars justice. And this one's another 3.8 litre. Apologies about the announcements in the background. Another S-Type here, a Mark II. I guess this is a 420, judging by the earlier car. This one's in a lovely sort of RAF blue type colour. Looks fantastic, doesn't it? We've got another E-Type, Series 1 by the look of it. A certainly pretty modified racing version. And this 420 is an absolutely lovely car. It's certainly an unusual colour, isn't it? That sort of sandalwood type beige. I think that was a Rover colour. Lovely colour. And looks like an award winner as well. Arguably the turnaround car for the Jaguar in the 80s was the then newly launched XJ40 that attempted to cover a lot of the issues that Jaguar had in the past in terms of quality and reliability, and this was a vehicle that was to be exported to the US, so a huge amount of effort went in. This was in the John Egan period, or Sir John Egan as he's now known. Unusually, 3 of these vehicles were converted to estates, which is something that wasn't offered at the time. 2 survive, and 1 of them went to the US, and we're not sure about the whereabouts of this one, but this is a really unusual car and absolutely a one-off, isn't it? Built under the Jaguar Sport branding is this XJR 3.6. As you can see, a sort of contemporary body kit that was fitted by Jaguar Sport. This lovely sort of sage green type colour really suits it, especially with that beige interior. We'll try and take a look from the front. Those bottle top type alloy wheels distinguish it, and as you can see here, you've got colour coded bumpers and a bit less chrome. That's nice, isn't it? Here's a later car. This looks like it's probably a 92, 93 car, so you can see how the styling has evolved, and by this time pretty much I think they'd abandoned the single lights. Now just entering the show now is a lovely XJC in this squadron or squadron type blue. It looks lovely, doesn't it? It sounds good as well. Now XJS has had a relatively long production run. This is a cabriolet version. It's not the full convertible, as you can see by the roof. And in this instance it looks like it's got storage space rather than seats in the back. These are probably, I guess, rarer than the full convertible. So looking like it's come from Zurich by the registration plate. Thanks guys for bringing this fantastic XJS convertible. In fact, I think it's the cabriolet, to be honest. Another cabriolet. Lovely car. The twin headlight conversion fitted to the American cars is becoming a bit more common, and I think that's simply because the single headlamps are a bit more difficult to come by these days, but this is a really nice car as well. And this is a Series 3Y, so what would that be, 82, 81, 82, 83, something like that. Nice colour. Difficult to believe that these fantastic BBS style cross-spoke alloys are just 15-inch. Probably gives great ride quality, I would imagine, with those fat tyres on it as well. Let's move along, we'll see a few more XJS's. Again, a later car here, a relatively late car, yeah. Even later, an L coming towards the end of production, and it's the full convertible. This one, I think, yes, it's the cabriolet again. and then we've got a fixed head, a 3.6 litre fixed head. And this is indeed one of the earliest XJs. In fact, it's Sir William Lyon's personal car that the Jaguar Heritage Collection have brought today. It's a G, so it'll be a 68 car, I guess. And there's even a fantastic picture of Sir William Lyon's with the car at the original site in Blackpool, where it all started. I don't think I've ever seen as many E-types together in the same place. So that looks like a Series 1.5, a later V12, a convertible, roadster, whatever you want to call it, a fixed head V12, probably an earlier V12 as well. It is a 72, 73, and then a fixed head Series 1.5. Pre-facelift XJSs are pretty rare these days. Now, bearing in mind the car was launched, I think, in 75. This is a P registration, so it'll be 75, 76 would be a very early car. It's absolutely lovely in that British racing green. We'll take a look at it. I certainly am more fascinated by these early cars. To me, they just seem to look so right. And you can imagine, coming after the E-Type, the impact that this had in the market. Those of you that watched the Saint, at least the second time around, will appreciate the white one that Ian Ogilvy drove back in the day. I quite like the black panel at the back, certainly that's shown on this green car, although it's disappeared on the later, I think, 1981 next to it. Now, these were laughingly pre-HE, which was the high efficiency version, which, given the vehicle was fitted only at that time with the V12 engine, high efficiency has got to be something relative, hasn't it? This convertible comes towards the end of the life of the XJS, and it's got the modified rear lights, which are potentially an acquired taste. I'm not sure about those. Now, next to it is this Swiss XJS in this typical Rover stroke British Leyland beige. Please put in the comments if you can remember exactly what colour that is, but I can't imagine that you'll buy a premium sports car today in that colour. Doesn't it look good though? And yet more XJs, a couple of Daimlers sandwiched in the middle. What lovely colour shades they are. You certainly wouldn't get shades like that these days. For a start, they wouldn't be solid, they'd all be metallic, wouldn't they? Row upon row upon row of these E-types hiding underneath Concorde. Now, I'm not sure who's got the most distinctive nose. Is it that one? Okay, in this instance we may have been outdone by Concorde. Providing a perfect bookend to the sports cars of Jaguar is this SS, later Series 3 V12 E-Type, a later XJS. Slipping in the middle, we've got a Mark II, I guess a Series 1.5. Well, that's a lovely colour, that one, isn't it? And yet another Mark II, a 420, another Mark II, a D-type, maybe a replica, not sure, a later 89 XJS, and I think this one here, this XJS estate, is actually called the Eventer, which was a limited run that was built by an engineering company called Lynx, I believe. And yes, in actual fact, it's a Lynx Eventer, a relatively rare car, but sort of seems to work with that styling. And this is another Mark 10. You can appreciate the sheer enormity of this car. I mean, even compared at the size of a modern or more modern S-Type from sort of 2005, 2006, you can see it dwarfs it, doesn't it? The S-Type, again, starting to be recognised for what it is, a sort of classic, or certainly moving that way. This is a facelifted car with the facelift rear lights and a lovely blue colour. Now, to some extent, these are being still sold relatively cheaply as user vehicles. An XK8. At the other end of the scale, these were once at that price level many years ago. And this is a Series 1.5 E-Type, as you can see. Another XK8, that sort of antique gold type colour. That's a lovely looking car, isn't it? I guess that's an S-Type. Obviously a later XF. An X300. And obviously one of the last of that design, or certainly that design direction, is these aluminium bodied XJs. The X350 running right to about 2009 is probably not getting the attention it deserves. It's an all aluminium car, it's extremely lightweight, and these are relatively cheap in the used market. Probably certainly this one is a whole other vehicle because it looks like it's a supercharged car. We'll take a look. I suspect we're going to see a few more of the same here. Walking past an X300, a slightly earlier XK of the last series, a more modern F-Type that's still in production now, a pre-facelift XF. Oh, here's a rare one. Well, certainly at this event it's a rare car. It's an X-Type Estate, and again suffered a little bit because of the relationship with Mondeo, though in actual fact the links with the Mondeo probably weren't as strong as some people imagine. An X300, and this is a Daimler, so again a rare one. Looks like a 98 on an S plate, I think. Lovely orange F-Type, an XK. Oh, and I'm drawn to this bottle green XK8. That's lovely, isn't it? Just arriving very slowly is this F-Type. Yeah, this is an absolutely lovely car, isn't it? These are outstanding value at the moment, very related to the XJS, and I believe that the platform was almost the same underneath it. What a lovely car. And celebrating the Le Mans win by this time, 51, 53, 55, 56 and 57, is this XK150 fixed head. What a lovely car. A later XJS with the twin headlamp US conversion. Another XK8 again. And an S-Type. Oh, not so rare after all. Another X-Type. XK8. F-Type. Wow. Lovely XK. And they're surely going to get appreciated for what they are. The last of that line, certainly. Lovely. And yet more Mark IIs. How many Mark IIs have we seen today, folks? Quite a lot. And then on to something a bit more modern. Almost reaching the end of the row. A lovely British Racing Green late Roadster. Now this longer bodied V12 in a Roadster seems to work. It doesn't work quite so much for me as a fixed head, but a V12 in a Roadster does look pretty good. Unfortunately it's starting to rain here, so apologies, the pictures might not come out quite so well, but you can see the scale of this event in terms of the number of cars here. And I think pretty much every generation of Jaguar is covered. Some standout cars I'm drawn to: this X350 and this sort of silver frost. It's an XJR. That's a lovely looking car. We've seen a few of those today, haven't we? Some more modern machinery, but very definitely Jaguars. This looks like a Japanese market import, looking at the fact it's badged Van Pla, and obviously looking at this space on the rear number plate. Certainly doesn't look like obviously a UK car. No, it isn't. I can see it's actually left-hand drive as well, so it may well be from another market, not Japan. And next to the last XJ, coming all the way from Austria, from Vienna, is this XJ Sport, the X300s, lovely in British racing green, and obviously that's had quite a journey to get here. That's a lovely car, isn't it? I've lost count of the number of E-types I've shown you already today. I haven't even seen them all, but I don't get tired of looking at them, especially this, I think it's a Series 1, I'll have a look in a second, and it's a 4.2. Let's have a look around the front. It does look great. I haven't seen so many in black in actual fact. And yes, it's certainly, well, it looks like a Series 1. And it's an early car. What would that be, 65, 66? And the last of the line, or one of the last of the lines, is an X351 aluminium bodied XJ. Just leaving. Sounds good. Oh, it's a 575, so it's got the more powerful. So we've had to dig out the umbrella, so apologies about the noise, and this is the XJR so-called ring taxi that was used to take paying passengers around the Nürburgring. And one of the Mark IIs is leaving. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, this is one of the rare Project 7s built, limited run, built in I think around about 2015. One of the things I did mention was the difference in the roof design, so you can see how the roof design is a more lightweight design and how it's attached at the back. That's a good looking car, and that's French blue, isn't it? So whilst trying not to get run over, I'm going to go down this line of E-types. Why? Just because I can. That looks like a lightweight version there. Obviously owner's trying to keep that one watertight, I guess. Number of fixed heads and 2+2s. Fixed heads, 2+2s, you can see. Lovely British racing green with the celebration of the 60-year anniversary from 61 to 21 of the E-Type, launched as you know at Geneva Motor Show. Oh, that's a lovely colour, isn't it? How nice is that one? And lovely old English white. That's sort of, I'm not sure what colour that is, that beige colour. Put that in the comments if you know that one. That's puzzling me now. I'll have to try and find out. I'll try and drop it in the comments if I work it out. And that's maybe a Swiss car, I think. V12. And a fixed head Series 1. That's left-hand drive. That's also come a long way, hasn't it? Switzerland, I believe. Not ideal for inclement conditions, but it still sounds good. Listen to that. So let's follow that car out and breathe in that neat 4-star. Maybe it's even 5-star. And we've still got cars arriving despite the weather. XK8s, as you can see. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? Also arriving is this 2+2 E-Type, closely followed by a more modern XK. And here's a later left-hand drive V12. Sounds like it could do some damage, folks, that one, doesn't it? Now try not to get run over for this beautiful Mark II in this gunmetal metallic. And we're even to the reserve parking now. They've run out of space. So what an eclectic mix of vehicles. Okay, I'll be honest, I'm drawn to this white early or late, I suppose. It's a V, so it'd be an 80, wouldn't it? Isn't that lovely? Anybody who watched The Saint will have some great memories of that car. I've probably even got the Corgi toy to match somewhere. That's lovely, particularly with that red interior. Let's see if we can get a better look at it, despite the fact it's raining here and the clouds. There, you can sort of see that red interior, or reddy brown interior, I think. Not quite sure now. But it doesn't have that black panel around the rear number plate like some of the earlier, very early cars did. That's a lovely car though, isn't it? Apologies, we're still battling the rain here as we go through the overflow parking, and we see some more modern vehicles, some stunning but more modern Jaguars. Just walking down a little bit further, we can see, I think, an S-Type or a 420. I'll have to have a look at that one. I'll cheat, I'll go and look at the back. Can't remember. And it's a 3.4 S-Type. Nice colour, isn't it? So thanks for joining me at the Jaguar Drivers' Day 100th year centenary at the Brooklands circuit. We've seen some absolutely fantastic cars, some of which are still behind me and still need to see. I hope you've enjoyed the walk round. Please like, share, subscribe and comment. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.